AMG Live, Expo Eve. Not Expo Eve yet, but the next episode will be the one before the Expo, but it is approaching. It's approaching rapidly. So we've got the Scallops Collector people. Steve, how are you?
A little confused this evening, but I'm doing well.
Exactly. Listen, we're still working on the live to tape time zone and everything because it's almost like it's been like hours since I've seen Steve.
Yes.
And we were definitely chatting a little bit earlier. So we'll talk a little bit more about the episode that'll drop on Wednesday that has already been recorded. We'll talk about SB Authentic and we'll talk about Allen and Ginter. Doesn't mean we'll ignore it during this discussion if you guys have any general questions about it, but we do a little bit of a breakdown. The usual thing where we'll link you to the Beckett checklist and everything if you want to check that out. Availability and everything, reach out directly to the store. That's the best way to get answers about that, especially pricing, availability, all that good stuff. Reach out directly. But we do a little bit of breakdown. We find some things on there that are interesting, especially for Allen and Ginter. If you guys check out the checklist on Ginter in the past, Steve may have found something very exciting. Listen, he's not a collector by trade, but we may have found something that piqued his interest. There's a little spoiler for you that comes up on the podcast episode that was already recorded. Sherry, Brad, how are you?
I am fabulous.
Amazing. Brad's just in shock. Steve sounds something he's excited about collecting wise. Like, that's shocking.
I was trying to be like Blair, like the one word, like I'm wonderful. I'm fabulous.
I know. I'm having a great day. It's been a very busy day with PSA today, getting ready for the expo. So it's taking its toll. I'm a little drained. I'm not going to lie. Feel a little tired. Just a lot of stuff going on, but I'm going to get through it. So if I mumble a little bit, Carlos, you can step up for me.
All right. But this is a late expo prep, and I know you're excited. Look, we got Sanderson Orr in the chat. This is very exciting stuff.
Can't wait to give him the wave at the expo as he walks by.
Yeah, the rest of us will talk to you for hours, but no, he's getting the wave. Like, to be honest, he's getting the wave from all of us. Like, that's not like a one-person thing. That's pretty much everybody.
Carlos, I purchased a little collection at the end of the day yesterday when it was sitting on my desk. So when I came in this morning, it was gone. So I was just
Right.
I was just wondering if maybe Brad the collector knows something about my missing box.
We're getting to the bottom of mystery.
Yes.
Interesting.
Well, if he could maybe fill me in.
You know what? I'm just going to plead the fifth on this one. I'm not really sure what you're talking about. Maybe.
Are we allowed to plead the fifth in Canada, just out of curiosity? I know Steve has got, some Kentucky roots going on, but it's like, do we have the ability to plead the fifth? Is that what we're going with right now?
Yeah. I'm building up my tab at AMG Collectibles because I owed for the wonderful case of Portfolio Golf that I opened up on the weekend, which I was going to film, but I didn't. Thank God I didn't. It was terrible.
Should have opened Warner Brothers.
Yeah, I got so excited. I hit a Brooke Henderson autograph, which again, very excited. Don't have one. And it looked like she dinged all four corners when she was signing it, completely mangled. Anyway, so that was a letdown. So I owed AMG some money. So I don't want to say that I did maybe take something else that I'm going to owe some more money for, but there was one card that might have been in that box that this is 2013-14 blue PMG Vladimir Tarasenko. So as I know Carlos knows, I'm not sure if Sherry or Steve really know.
Blue is out of 50, isn't it?
Blue is out of 25.
It's 25, okay.
Yeah. So
I knew it was somewhere in that range. I know they have a different numbering for the blues because they only did them certain years. I know the numbering for the blue is different.
So I'm doing the set, all graded by PSA, and I've been doing this for quite some time. And
how many do you have?
I don't think I
I'm
knew
well
they were
over half.
there.
I think there's 50 in the set, and I think I might have 30. But I've got the only big guy I need is Crosby, and there's been a couple for sale, but they've been like $3,000 or $4,000, and hopefully someday Steve, collector of the Scallops, will have another box that Sid the Kid might be in instead of Vladimir Tarasenko. But
So just to answer my question, is it safe to say that box is now in your place of residence?
I can't talk about it anymore.
Okay.
He can neither confirm nor deny that rumor. It is
Yeah.
vanished.
And I truly don't know.
Oh.
And I also think there's a possibility in that box. There might have been some Mike Modano cards that I stuck to the side just in case a buddy of mine might need a few of them, but I'm not sure.
Well, Steve, listen, I got to back Brad up on this. Like, it sounds to me like it's been lost. Like, I just assume Eric probably took it. I got to be honest. I'm pretty confident it was Eric.
Yeah.
Well, anyway,
That's-
what I can remember of it is it was kind of an enjoyable lot. Probably like 2013, that era. So some cards I hadn't seen for a while, and I probably will never see again.
I was about to say, yeah, you're probably not going to see them again.
But
No.
I figured when it wasn't here this morning, I kind of knew more than likely where it went, but I just wanted to hear him say it, which he still hasn't.
I feel that this sounds to me like AMG needs to bump up its security. This is not a Dallas Card Show situation. We're gonna need to look at the tape.
We have a one key works all right now, so yeah, we might have to have a little discussion about that.
Sounds good. So we're gonna have a little bit of fun, folks in the chat. Feel free to chime in with questions and comments. We read the ones that we've got so far. I'm gonna read the comments from the last episode as well. But before I do, real quick, I mentioned already Expo's coming up. The next episode will be the one right before the Expo. Brad will already be en route, and then everybody will figure out the situation. But we will have another live episode next week. That'll be our official pre-Expo one. However, we do have booth numbers and some basic information about Expo. So guys, do you want to share the information for Expo here for now, and then we'll repeat it again next week?
Yep, I do know that the booth number I'll have is 2610, and I think it's hall 234 this year. Yeah, 234
is what they're using. Yeah.
Yeah, because I was trying to figure out. I was like mentally thinking which one was 234 because I think we were 5 last year. Was it? Yeah.
Yeah. There's been a couple of different
Everybody-
combinations.
Most of the people were in 5 last year, the
Yeah.
majority. But yeah, so we'll be booth 2610, and I think the floor plan will be out here soon. So
Yeah, I talked to Steve Menzie again yesterday and today, and I'm pretty sure it will be released at some point tonight, the floor plan, which is great because we have the massive Goliath footprint that we have for our PSA booth is all complete, and we're ready to rock and roll and grade a ton of cards. So
Absolutely.
And we at
And then
AMG will be ready to buy some.
Exactly. We're going to touch on that in a moment as well. But one of the things we'll also, so hopefully if we do get the floor plan, then for next week, both on the podcast and on the live, we will actually share it with you. We'll show you exactly where the two booths are. The PSA one, you won't be able to miss it. It's a small town. Brad will be barking, orders back and forth, and there'll be people running forward and backwards. All the luminaries will be there. We have the president of PSA will be there. Brad will be there, hobnobbing. Shaking basically in the general direction of certain people, just waving. No direct contact, but just waving. But for other people, he'll have moments to talk. There will be a little bit of both of those things.
We shall see.
And then at the AMG booth, Steve will be purchasing. It's one of those things where if you got something that you think might be interesting, bring it up to the booth because, especially with past expos, there's been a variety of different things. One of the favorite ones from the last expo that he picked up was that lot of wrestling cards, including all those Lex Luger cards, which was a little bit of a different one. I remember getting the message for that. I was like, Lex Luger, really? Some good cards though. Some pretty fun cards in terms of that. Exactly.
Yeah, we've got a crack team of researchers ready with their phones to, that's the one nerve-wracking thing about being at the Toronto show, which we've touched on before. Sometimes the Wi-Fi is a little spotty. And, when people are bringing collections up, and I'm a little technologically challenged. So I've got 2 or 3 people that I'll be surrounded by that will be, punching things in as we go to hopefully be able to, find some comps or make decisions on the fly. So that's, to me, the most nerve-wracking thing is making those purchases when it's something I'm not, 100%, comfortable with, whether it's a newer product or, the newer market's fluctuating up and down. So you definitely need to have someone chirping in your ear, giving you a little bit of info. Most of the time I don't listen to them, but at least they're there to give me their 2 cents worth. But it definitely, when buying, it's a team effort, and I'm appreciative already the guys that will be in our booth helping Sherry and I with that.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. It's definitely a team effort.
maybe we can get Eric to bring his Commodore 64 with him, and he could do some little research in the back of the AMG booth. I'm sure he'd be great on that with his 2 fingers just punching away at his.
Well, he did upgrade recently. He's very proud of it. Originally, he had one of those Univacs, and it took up the entire house. It was actually very awkward. The punch card thing kept throwing him for a loop. It was very strange. But the Commodore 64, like, that's his fancy new machine. We got to be careful with it, Brad, though. Like, that's his precious. He spent top dollar on that thing.
Very
Big
much.
time. So let me read a couple of comments here from last time. So again, if you guys leave any comments on the lives, usually we'll check them out after, and we'll try to repeat them back and follow up on the following week. So this is from last week's episode we've got here. So Sean here says, so this was a question for you. I asked Sean to repeat this question because I wanted you, Brad, to answer it for him. So this one's for you. So it says, Brad, does a PSA sell gift cards at the AMG shop? So PSA gift cards, is there anything like that, or anything thoughts of something like that?
No, we don't, and it's very good. I brought that up. I remember a couple of months ago. One of the things with our expansion within international markets is to offer gift cards. There's promo cards. There's different things that we do have that we can use, but as of right now, no, we do not. And I do wish we did. I know
That's
AMG
good.
definitely has gift cards because I see
Yeah,
them
I have
rolling
gift
around all
cards.
the time. So
They cannot be used for PSA services at the submission center, but they can be used for AMG.
Absolutely.
Or
Wanted to make
AMG.
sure we asked the question. Yeah, wanted to make sure we asked the question. So thank you, Sean, for the question. And again, you're welcome to ask. There's no harm in asking. And then again, if it's something like this, it's a good venue to pose the question. Josh here says, so Josh Packham says, really enjoyed the live, but if Eric and Brad are going to agree, I'm not sure how I feel. Facts. Could not agree more.
I agree with that. It bothered me. It actually hurt my soul a little bit when I agree with Eric. I'm just going to leave it at that.
Yep. Deep down inside, it was its disturbance in the force, and none of us felt right after that. It was very unsettling.
Yeah, I don't like agreeing with Steve most of the time. Like that's usually like that's my daytime nemesis, and then Eric usually shoots in a couple times a week to be my nighttime nemesis.
I just disagree for spite, even if I agree with him. It's just
Ooh,
we don't agree on anything.
I don't
Steve,
think it's
I love me some spite.
Yeah.
Allegedly.
Just for
Allegedly.
spite.
I may enjoy the odd little bit of spite. I know it may shock, but I do enjoy the odd little bit of spite.
No, not you.
I know it's shocking. As a man of peace, this is shocking. Shocking to me too. So next, so thank you, Josh. Next comment here is from Gotham, who already chimed in tonight. Great video. How about a Drake Batherson signing next summer at AMG? I sense a little bit of an angle here with the Go Sens Go as well. Kind of have to agree on the breaks. Gives the shops a sketchy casino feel. So kind of a follow up on last week's discussion. The current AMG feel is literally one in the million premier experience as far as hobby shops go for me. Massive asset to the collecting community in Nova Scotia. Go Sens Go again. So 2 Go Sens Go times 2.
Thanks.
So thank
we
you,
we really do appreciate that, and it's definitely the vibe and the feel that we're trying to continue with.
Indeed. And if we can ever get that security figured out, like it's like boxes just disappear. It's crazy. It's crazy what happens out there. And then Robin Taylor said, missed it again. Sorry guys, next time. Robin, where are you? We read the comment anyway. So we appreciate the comments and the questions anyway. So those are all the questions from last week. So we appreciate that. I want to make sure I addressed them all and touched on them. So I think that's helpful. So here we go. Looks like Eric's got a question here. I would like to see the owner and manager of the greatest card shop in Canada. They could possibly bring some vintage hockey with them to show next week. Both of you are just fantastic. Wow, look at a little bit of buttering it up. I see what's going on there.
So much so.
I will definitely see what I can do for you, Eric.
Yeah, vintage is actually we have a good fair amount of vintage right now in the store, but it sells so fast that we probably won't bring any to Toronto. Like I had 20 nice Ice Kings that I might have considered bringing to Toronto, but I just looked in the showcase today and there's only 4 left. And then we do have like a lot of discount, vintage cards and stuff like that. But it's got a nice little niche or market here locally. And I kind of like having it here. We kind of have a showcase dedicated to it. And there was a time when we really didn't have much. So vintage kind of comes and goes. And right now we've got a nice little allotment. And I don't think I am going to take any vintage to Toronto. So take that.
Wow.
It's not for Eric.
I'm back to liking the old.
Sorry, yeah, no, we definitely have a great selection of vintage in the store too, though. There's lots of different to choose from.
I feel like whatever she's just trying to say. All I know, I hate. I'm not agreeing with Eric here, and I'm not trying to get involved in this. But I looked at 2 boxes today that Steve has, priced and ready for Toronto.
Yeah,
and I don't know what he's saying. I'm not. Maybe that was directed towards me, but I'm not bringing any vintage. But inside that box, there's Plant rookies, there's Ore rookies, there's Rocket rookies, there's 54 Tops, Sawchuck's House. All the big cards that I could think of are in a box that he priced for Toronto.
Sorry.
If you are watching this podcast and you're going to the Toronto Expo, there is going to be an absolute abundance of the coolest, best vintage cards available at the AMG booth, according to what I've seen today. But maybe Steve doesn't want to say this to Eric, but I don't know. Maybe is that box for another show somewhere?
I'm smelling a little bit of spite here. I'm feeling a little spite right now.
I just got caught lying live.
Wow.
Yeah, no, we'll have a few cards, but not as many as you would think. But yeah, there's probably 20, 30 like of the big guys, whether it's Bellevue or Rocket or Plant or yes, we're bringing some.
So Carlos,
Sherry.
I'm kind of thinking here, like, what do you think Eric collects cards of no value? Is this what you're trying to say? Are you trying to put Eric down a little bit here, that we're not going to bring any Boston Bruin legends like Hal Gills? Maybe.
Well, listen, if you brought some Hal Gales, it would class up the joint a little bit. I think it can only help the situation. So real quick, I wanted to kind of have a little bit of fun. So Robin did join us today. So Robin, thank you for popping in. Appreciate it. Don't worry, Eric doesn't know how to write, so he has no list. But it's nice of him to say. It's all transcribed. He basically has to transcribe it. But what I will do, and this will be a little sneak preview, we did showcase those Ice Kings on the podcast episode. So if you check out the podcast episode that drops tomorrow, you will get a chance to see the Ice Kings. We do talk about them for a moment as well. But I will give, for the people who are paying close attention, that have maybe high resolution and look, little brief peek. This might be coming up for next week. Just throwing it out there. And that's it. Sneak preview. We'll talk more about it. Out
of the bag. His lips are sealed.
There's a couple of cool cards in there. There's actually a couple of cool cards in that image. So like I said, we'll save that for next week. I'll actually zoom in on it a little bit so you can get a little bit of a better sense of it. But there's actually some nice cards in that lot there, and I've got a couple of images like that, so we'll be able to share them. But I wanted to give you a little sneak preview. So Eric, if you pause really quickly there and just stare at the screen, you might be able to make out some of the cards that are in there. You may recognize a few of them. So there's some good ones in there for sure, and we'll share them in more detail on the next podcast episode. It gives us people something to look forward to. However, if you want a curiosity about availability, it's always best to reach out directly to the store. So as he said about the Ice Kings, he started off with a whole lot of them, but then some of them have vanished. Some of them have been purchased. Some of them may have been purchased by people that work at AMG, not Brad in this case. So just throwing it out there. We talked about that on the podcast as well. So that's what I mean. Like, if you want to check availability, it's always best to double check. Ask, and then that way you'll know.
We're never short of McFarlane's. If you need some of those, Christmas coming up.
There you go.
Look
I had it as a stocking stepper. And it says gangs all here. That's right. Absolutely. And if you guys have any questions, general questions or thoughts, and again, I'll connect with you guys again to say if you have thoughts on things that you'd like to see in the live gives us an option to do a few more interactive things. We will try to be able to showcase some items. We'll do that a little bit as well. And then for next week, we'll try to do a little giveaway. I mentioned already in the past, but we'll plan it out and make sure we've got it situated, especially since it'll be the week before the expo. And we'll try to incorporate that a little bit here and there, again, to reward you and thank you for popping in and hanging out live. But then it's as good. The best part about the live is the interactivity. So if you have questions or thoughts that you want to give to us or suggestions, that allows us then to respond right on the spot. So like Sean's question, I asked Sean to repeat the question so that Brad was able to answer directly. So that's a good way to get an answer to that question. So you take advantage of it, because during this time that you got us live, we can answer those questions more quickly. Otherwise, you can reach out to the store and get the question answered that way. So real quick, let me follow up on a conversation we had in the last podcast. So Sherry, how is the Kakao coming along? Wow. I hear you're very enthusiastic about it, and the enthusiasm continues.
I think, when was it? Saturday, I think it was, Steve. I ended up getting Blair into opening a few boxes, which he never opens anything. So he went from opening just 1 to 3 very quickly. We kind of had a pack.
He scared Blair into opening them. Blair can't say no.
Okay, I will. So then I ended up getting a green gem. They're at a 20. And it was one of the guys from Lord of the Rings. So me and Blair kind of did a swap, and I got all of his cards and he got my green gem at a 20.
And there was no pressuring whatsoever in the course of the negotiations and trade. It was very much a completely
I just gave him the
Spontaneous.
pile. Blair, I want these. You can have this, and the deal was done.
So I'll comment on Sherry's collecting.
Uh-oh.
Since she started collecting Pokemon cards, I've tried to teach her how to collect properly. Like if you're going to build sets, you got to build sets, put them in binders, put them in pages, do your thing, put them in a box, whatever you got to do. But without a word of a lie, if I walked around our apartment right now, there's probably, without exaggerating, 8 to 10 stacks of these cards in every place possible. She could open a box up in the kitchen. There'll be a stack of those. I can't say the name right.
Kakawao. Warner Brothers.
Kakawao Warner Brothers.
Yeah.
There's stacks everywhere. So I'm like, what is your purpose of opening these cards? I think she just likes to open and look at them, and then they just kind of sit there. Steve, in your office, is there a stack of cards?
Good question, Brad. Today there was 2 stacks of them, and I kind of looked at you and said, you know what? I think I'm going to put these in Sherry's office. So there's actually 2 stacks in Sherry's office now.
They're everywhere.
I just put them around so everybody gets a chance to see them.
Yeah.
Or I put them in my
I've seen
binder.
them all right.
I think that's a way that you could try to sell that. Yeah, I appreciate your enthusiasm in trying to sell that. Look, I would love Brad to back you up on this, but I got to be honest, I'm too lazy to sort. I may at some point just have to hire somebody. I'll be like, look, your job is to sort this. I can't. At this point I refuse. Especially this far into it, like I'm just not doing it. I actually hate sorting. I like getting the cards, scratching off the checklist, and then now I know I have it. That's as far as I'm willing to go. That's it. After that, Brad, I'm done.
Yeah.
There are cards that I know I have. Yeah.
I would
there
just
are cards that there are cards that I legitimately know I have, and I'm like, if you ask me to at gunpoint where they are, I'm like, somewhere in these walls, somewhere inside of city limits. They are here somewhere. Where exactly? No one knows. But they are. As long as they're off the checklist, I do have them in my possession somewhere. That I can guarantee. Beyond that, I cannot speak to it any further.
I like it.
We'll move.
Anyways, that was my little rant. There's this stuff's everywhere, and I think maybe that could be a future show. How to collect and store properly.
Storage options.
Yeah.
That is like binders, boxes,
something, anything. But there's soft sleeves, there's card savers. It's everywhere. So this Warner Brothers product has taken over my life.
So should I open a box?
You know what?
That's all I'm hearing. That's what I'm hearing right now.
There you go.
Oh.
We got boxes everywhere. You just look around.
I love it.
I didn't know you.
I
I
love
thought you did. I didn't know.
You get a box.
Sherry, I think
well,
so it is
if you
said, so it is done. So it is said, so it is done. And like twist her arm, why don't you? Real quick, what I was gonna say. So Brad, I think this sounds like a situation. Look, I've legitimately had this problem, and I do still do the odd set here and there, but that's as far as my sorting will go. However, one of the things that I've become very accustomed to, it's one of my favorite things now. And by the way, I'm not suggesting it's a terrible idea. I like to call it the miscellaneous box of stuff. And that is getting like a 3,200 count, 5,000. Like, you know what? I would just take those piles and put it in a 3,200 count box. Put the lid on top of it and slide it in the corner and be done with it. There you go.
I've had many of those.
Yeah. Problem solved.
I gotta say,
Sherry,
I did narrow down my Pokemon collection though. I got, I'm just down to sealed boosters, Mew and Mewtwo's, and my celebrations and my base set, and
some massive miscellaneous boxes.
Yes. Well, okay. So 2 questions. So 2 quick things because now that you've got the box there, we're gonna see it open. But question for you. So for the Pokemon, since you do have that collection, I know some of them are graded, and I think some of them are not graded, a little bit mixed. So where do they go? Do they go in a box? Because I've got the boxes that can hold the graded cards. Honestly, those are useful to me. I've got the 2-row graded card boxes. That's what I like to use.
Yeah, that's what I have mine in now. I do have those organized. There's just a couple boxes next to it that aren't.
All right. So in the meantime, why don't we get that box opened up while we're doing it? And again, if anybody's got any questions or thoughts in the chat, I'll be monitoring the chat. But let's see. We're gonna crack open a box here. This is the Kakawao WB anniversary. So there you go. You guys got the screen, and I'll be monitoring. We can see.
Where did
The
I
shiny
go?
box.
What did I do to get taken off?
You're a
I thought
disembodied
that was
voice,
Eric.
Steve.
It sounded like Eric.
You're the peanut gallery, Steve. Your job is to be in the background and commentate.
So I think it'd be good too as the live goes on. There's a lot of characters that are employees that or friends of AMG that we don't get to see, and friends of PSA as well. But I think it'd be nice to maybe even have some of the guests pop in on the live
Mhm.
to
I want
introduce.
to see. I want to see Blair live. I don't know.
Do you know who I think could potentially Lobster? Blake.
Yeah, he'd be good. Yeah,
I think he could. Jeff Jones,
yeah.
Slab Shark affiliate,
We've got a collector of the scallops and a lobster.
and a Lobster.
Wow. There you go.
We're full of base, and silver is Professor Pat Pending.
Pat Pending. I feel like I remember him, but I don't remember what from. Which cartoon was he from? Does it say?
It's okay to say you don't know. That's one thing. I'm just going to give Sherry a little lesson here as well.
Well, I'm just curious though, Brad. Do they put it on the back of the card? Because I think for some of them they'll tell you the property. So I'm curious if they did.
Sometimes they do.
It doesn't say on this. I can't
Not
say
on
that
the
I know him.
silvers.
Do you know him, Potty?
Does
Professor-
anyone care? Does anyone care what I've done today at work?
Yes.
I went through some 71 Peachy baseball today, Brad,
Ooh.
and I found like a $3 common, but I think it's going to be a 9. I don't know if
All right, hold on. So
I got a
let me
card
finish
to show
sharing that
too.
one. I'll do a
Sure.
little switch. So first you got that one. Who is that? Is that Porky Pig?
That is Porky Pig. Kind of hard to
Gotcha.
see.
All right.
They're so shiny.
We're gonna figure out your lighting situation there. All right.
I know.
Let Steve show the card. Go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, Steve, let's go, Steve.
Actually, that one there's nice too. Like a Ted Williams.
Oh, you got the Ted Williams. Yeah, that's
yeah,
good.
they're quite nice, and it was literally
Steve-
like
Steve, can you show the back? Because the O-Pee-Chee has the yellow backs. So they distinguish from the, with the floating head on there. That's
And it
the O-Pee-Chee versus the tops, which is the green.
and it was a collection that was it was an ugly collection, let's just say. The cards were well loved, but then I was going through and just found some really nice 71s, and again, that's like a common, but I mean the corners and the centering on that, and they're super tough to get high grades on, and even these,
71, that's good.
even if you get 7s on them, it's not bad, but even
I
like
love to look at that
there's
card.
a Brooks Robinson. It's got a little touch on the corner there,
Yeah.
but even like as a 6 or a 7, you're gonna get your money back. And then I always like slabbing them because they just look so nice and clean in the PSA slabs too. So I looked through about 371 O-Pee-Chees and found 3 cards. So
Nice.
Hey,
got
that's
them-
3
got-
cards that we can grade.
Yeah, I got them here. Says Steve is on fire, and Alex says we need more Steve Potty rookies. Facts. So go ahead, Sherry. Back to you. So we got Porky Pig was the last one.
Yep. The next silver is Boromir. I don't know if this is Lord of the Rings trilogy or The Hobbit.
That's Lord of the Rings. Yeah.
My Lord of the Rings knowledge is zilch. And I'm not collecting those ones from Warner Brothers. I actually have given them to Blair. We have base Ranger Smith.
There you go. So Brad, I actually didn't realize when we initially were looking over that set, and of course Sherry was very enthusiastic about it. I had no idea Friends was part of it. I was sitting there like, Friends, really?
And the Friends ones are really nice.
Yeah, I had no idea as well.
Silver Quacker.
Quacker, okay.
At the end of the day, this brings her so much joy. I should just go along with it for the rest.
Oh, little Quacker.
Oh yeah.
we should order some more, Sherry. I think we could use
I think
that.
yeah, absolutely. Listen, Brad. He who does not collect the chosen rose and shall throw stones.
Yes, very well
Yeah.
said.
Yeah. So I'm not going to be the one to do it. And your Alec Manoa collection says you're saying nothing.
I know.
There's a base Catwoman.
There you go. Which Catwoman did they pick for that one? There's a bunch of different Catwomen. So which one is it?
This one.
This one.
This one. Okay. Good to know.
So genuine.
Nubia. My focus
Yeah.
isn't very good here.
Yeah.
Sorry. Oh, and a base Lola Buddy.
Okay.
Oh, Brad's gonna. Oh, don't break them.
I gotta help this process out. It's painful.
Admire the items. If you get the good one, hey. Oh, that's a die cut.
Oh, Marvin the
Right,
Martian.
that
Nice.
person.
Yeah, Marvin the Martian. That was classic. I like that.
Oh, I thought that was Eric for a second, but it's just Jake.
Nice.
Zinger.
Oh, here we go. I have a friend's. I believe these are the final frames.
Oh, okay.
Those are cool.
That's interesting. All right, that's fine. It's no Topanga, but it'll do.
Whoa,
I'm just opening them for you so you can enjoy.
Shaggy.
Classic.
There you go.
Sherry, do you remember if there were any one-of-ones? So Alex is just asking if there were any one-of-ones. Yeah, I thought there was a one-of-one parallel. Okay.
So there's white cards, black cards, 101s, and then after that would be there's a gold, and then after that would be the script cards. So I did get one script card. Those are out of 100, but then there's actually one ahead of that, and it's a dual script card. And then the next ones from that would be the greens at a 20.
Okay.
So looking at this product, I feel like they did make a lot.
Mm-hmm. There's just over 2,100 cards
Because of all the boxes Cherry's open, and the lowest numbered card you have so far is one of
out of 20.
Out of 20.
Yeah.
And there's been as we know, a lot of boxes.
So
We need more boxes.
Stop it, Steve.
Okay. This is the Shining Stage. So this is numbered out of 888.
Okay. Yeah, it sounds to me like Brad. I will say, though, this is one of those ones with the sheer number of properties they put into it. They can sort of get away with it because even the base set is humongous. Like, even if somebody just wanted to do the base set, it would take a lot of boxes just to even attempt it.
They're friends. This is not a numbered card, but they are quite nice.
Right.
Just putting the hits on the top for you. Professional breaker over here.
Oh, I already did that pile. I don't have this
We
one.
are live, just so you know.
I know. I don't have this one. 375 Scooby.
That's cool.
Nice.
And that's it.
It's no upper deck portfolio golf. I don't know what to tell you.
That was not my most exciting box, that's for sure. But I still had a lot of fun.
That's what we're shooting for. That's what we got to go with. Mm-hmm. Works out.
We still have some in store, so if anybody would like to press their luck and get the cards I haven't, come on in.
There you go. So I think Andrew is probably a little bit behind here, but he says nothing wrong with well-loved vintage baseball. So I think that's in reference to the 71s. I think that's fair.
Some of it is beyond loved.
Do you know, honestly, I think, Steve, you probably set that aside for Andrew. Andrew's been a long time a friend, and I used to call him, in my phone, I think I had him back 10 years ago, as Mr. O-Pee-Chee Baseball. But he loves buying older O-Pee-Chee baseball and sets. He's got a great collection, and he's a true collector. So, Andrew, it's good to hear from you. I haven't seen you in a while.
Very nice. Very nice. So let me touch on here. So since we mentioned it, so Steve, over the course of the day, so has anything new come in or anything new been added since obviously we chatted during the podcast episode earlier?
Well, other than that missing box, I did buy a significant vintage collection yesterday, but it was one of those, like, the cards that were in rough shape were in really rough shape. So I spent most of the day, like, it might have started with 3,000 cards, and I kind of put them in the, let's say well-used category. And then there's about 500 that I will price, for the store. So the O-Pee-Chee ones, if Andrew wants to come in, and I think they're, 66, 68, 70, 71 O-Pee-Chees, definitely could give them a good deal on some well-loved baseball cards. And then the same goes for hockey too. And there's some big names, but I think the previous owners of them put their initials on most of them. Must have been a couple of brothers that argued over who owned what. So yes, some of them have a J on them and some of them have an A on them. So I had to go through and get rid of the A's and J's and left with about 300 or 400, nice looking hockey cards from the
Nice.
Late 60s into the 70s.
It's not bad. I think for the O-Pee-Chee baseball, memory serves me, it's been a little while. I want to say 65 was the first for O-Pee-Chee baseball. I think 65 was the first year they did O-Pee-Chee. So 66 and 68 are still pretty early. Pretty early for O-Pee-Chee baseball. It's pretty good. Anything in the 60s for that are actually pretty solid. So what do you got there back in the wall, Brad? You got a lot of stuff back there.
I was just thinking, I got some nice 60. What's my nicest 65? O-Pee-Chee. I got a.
It's got the Hank Aaron,
The Hank Aaron PSA 8.5.
Nice.
Which is my nicest. And then a mantle. What's that? That's an
He's
8.
got the leader's card.
Yeah, the leader's card is an 8. Clemente as an 8. Then I think the highest O-Pee-Chee. I love this card. This is from 68 O-Pee-Chee, and it's a 9. And it's card number 1.
Is that card number 1?
Yeah.
Yep.
The last card I looked at tonight was a card number 1.
There you go.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Look at
So,
you.
Look, we both got
Twinsies.
one.
Yeah.
Brother,
Twinsies.
mine's not as nice as yours, but it's nice. It's got a little wrinkle on it, but it's like, instead of $60, it's $10. So that's.
I will
kinda
say
what-
though,
that's
one of
kinda
my
what we
favorite
do.
little quirks about that era, if you go look at it, like you've got it on your card there, Brad. I like how they tried to Americanize Roberto Clemente by making him Bob.
Yeah.
It only happened for a little while. Like it was a thing where they did it for a little bit, but he was Roberto Clemente for part of it, and sometimes he's Bob Clemente. So if you just go through the different years, you'll see the mix and match where they kind of go back and forth on it. And it's like, wait, whatever you got to do.
Yeah.
Topps had a lot of fun with that stuff.
Too funny. Yeah, and so just before we start to shut it down here too, I just want to say I wasn't on the podcast that'll air tomorrow, but I just wanted to thank everybody for the show over the weekend. Our team did a great job in assisting me and getting everything together. And we were about 45 to 50 tables higher than the last show. So we've increased the capacity. Everything went absolutely fantastic. So thanks to everybody for making that happen.
And we also touched on it too, how tidy everyone was during the pack up. So anything you could do to help us out. And like we said before, the mall's also watching us as well. So there was little to no garbage to be picked up after. So, that's fantastic. And we appreciate that moving forward.
Yes, most definitely.
Very nice. And one thing I'll add as well is that as we go into, so now since they are monthly, it is the trade night that is going to be on the last Friday, and then the Saturday is going to be the card show. And we'll give reminders, but now that it's going to be monthly for the next couple of months, they're going to come up. So one show just ended. Obviously, the expo is coming up really quickly, but then before you know it, right after, there'll be another monthly card show. So it's going to be one after another in sequence. So we'll give you reminders along the way. So if you're in the area, if you know where the card shop is, you know where the card show is going to be. Makes it easy.
Absolutely.
No, it does. And it was a record number of submissions. I said this on our manager meeting today with PSA that we took in on Saturday. We had 39. Yeah, it was 39 individual submissions that came in the submission center, not through mail, but in person, which is absolutely great to see. And I know at PSA, and I'm not saying this to give Steve a compliment, maybe I'll say it to the rest of the crew. Actually, no, I'll include Steve on it as well. But the assistance that we have with the AMG team to help me out with my job at PSA, it doesn't go unnoticed, and we appreciate it. And even at the corporate level, they definitely appreciate all the help that AMG has to help develop the brand PSA here in Atlantic Canada. And we couldn't be happier. I mean, thanks to all the customers and the support that we have. And I know it's nice to offer, Carlos, if you had next door to your house, if you could just go over and drop off cards to submit directly to PSA, no shipping charges, the convenience of having it. So I also think we are very lucky to have it in Halifax. It offers a lot of our AMG's customers, a lot of our customers liquidity. They get their cards back fast. They save money on shipping. It's great to have. And I appreciate it. That's for sure.
And it's so important for first time submitters, which, probably 50% of the people that come through the door right now are new. When they can do it in person and see how the process goes, so many of them are apprehensive and nervous and, ask those same old questions, how do I know I'm getting the same card back? And this question and that question. But once they come in and see the operation, and then a lot of times there's someone that's already done it just hanging out in the store. A lot of times they'll even kind of chime in and say, hey, I submit my cards. Don't worry about it. They're going to take care of you. And so it's nice to have that little peace of mind. And then we've been able to kind of get regulars trained over the last couple of years. And it just moves so much more smoothly than it did when we first started, because there was lots of headaches and lots of saying the same thing over and over again. And now it's, we're doing that less and less often. So it really is amazing how the whole collecting community has helped each other out. And, we're very fortunate to have, this in Nova Scotia.
Yeah.
It's true. Do you remember? I was helping a guy with a submission Saturday, and this was the best. There was 4, I want to say, guys in their 20s came in. I feel like I seen one of them. They bought off the wall. They bought the Don Cherry.
Yes.
8x10, and they're like, yeah, we're true collectors. Anything that makes us laugh, we're in. And I said, oh, what do you collect? And he goes, well, my PC is, he goes, I picked up 5 of the cards today at the card show. My PC is Dustin Bufflin.
Yeah.
And his friend, he goes, I was only able to get one more for my collection. And do you remember who it was, Steve?
It was an obscure. It might as well have been Brad Hartland. Like it was a really obscure player.
Yeah, who was it? It was a Detroit writer, like Sean Burr or
some guy like that.
Something completely. And he was like, it's very tough to find his cards. But I said, you actually found one? He pulled it out. He was like, I got one. He was so excited. Right?
Is that the one that I used to say by Fuglin? Dustin by Fuglin?
Yeah, Dustin by Fuglin. Absolutely.
I think though I've actually had this conversation. I actually think in Canada we know more about it, but it's something I've described on my live stream, where for American folks is that there is more of a collector base for more obscure guys. There is a collector for a lot of folks that there are folks that were popular at different times, but then you look objectively, their career doesn't justify the level of popularity. We talked about, I think we talked about in one of the podcast episodes, Felix Potvin.
Yeah.
He's got a strong collector base, and obviously he had the great run with the Leafs and everything and was an extremely popular player for the team. But then go look at what he actually accomplished in his career in totality. The fandom does not match the career. But the people that want his cards will pay good money for his bigger cards because they love him that much. Yep. Every sport doesn't necessarily have that. You don't get as many people who are that passionate about some of maybe the second line players or some of the other, the backup goaltender. We know someone who collects an unpronounceable Boston Bruins goaltender who played for the Atlanta Flames. So it's just an unpronounceable name. Endless numbers of syllables. It's very disturbing.
I'm
not even sure they were real.
And you look at Canada, there's so many, like what I always say, Steve would appreciate this as well. What an accomplishment to play one game in the NHL. It's something we all dreamed of. We've been to camps and pro camps. Steve, you've been to pro camps, but have the opportunity to play one game in the NHL is such a major accomplishment. So some people might not notice it, but when you go to small towns, like say if there's someone from Antigonish, Nova Scotia, and you look at the players that have played in the NHL, they're heroes in Antigonish and they're collectible. And you find that now, like every player in the NHL that's especially from Canada, there's a fan out there and there's a collector of that guy. Whether it be he played one game like I said in the show, or if he played, up to Sidney Crosby's level. When you look at it, I think that's what makes the hockey card community so fun. There really is a collector for everyone. And I find maybe it's that way in baseball, and maybe it's just because it's so big and I don't notice it as much being in the US, but I really do find that in hockey, there is collectors for everyone besides just their parents.
No, that's really
I think it works out. Kind of the thing is the local flavor adds an element to it. And a lot of those players have stories and they're around. It also helps that if you throw a rock, you hit 3 hockey players. It's one of those things. It's like I laugh because I joke with my buddies is that I got my old high school yearbooks. Well, I went to school with Matt Stajan. Now, I don't like the guy. to be honest. I didn't like him then. So when he started playing with the Leafs, I was like, oh, I hate this guy. Plus, I don't like the Leafs, so we're double out on this guy. But I think I could be mistaken. I think as part of the Young Guns Renewed, I think they got a staging one in there, which made me laugh. And I was sitting there like, why? And I was sitting there like, why? It's like, but I have the high school yearbook from my like first or second year of high school. Like he's in it. That's why I kind of laugh. It's like I'm in it and he's in it. So we went to the same classes again. That's why I don't like the guy. But
have you asked that to Billy or anything? Like, why does Matt Stajan have a Young Guns Renewed? Steve, when we were at the store and you showed that to me, I was like, you can't be serious.
I'm almost wondering if Billy has someone on the inside. I'm wondering if he found out. He goes, Carlos doesn't like this guy. We're putting him in the set. It's like, oh, that's sneaky. Oh, that's dirty. That is dirty. That right there is a deep cut. It's like, that's it. If I find out that Cilio somehow found out and that's how Staging got on the checklist, well, you think I said mean things about some of the inserts before. That was Mr. Nice Carlos. That was Man of Peace Carlos. It's like, that's it. Gloves off. We're going for it. But to that point, though, because he played for the Leafs, that means there's still some local, he had a career and he actually lasted a while. So I think he made it to 10 years or he might have made it a little bit more than that. He played for a couple of teams. So it's one of those things where at least, and that's better than average because a lot of players maybe get a cup of coffee and then they go backwards between the AHL and the NHL. Just getting to the NHL and even having any kind of career, I don't care if you were a fourth liner. If you had a couple of years in the NHL, that's an accomplishment because a lot of guys don't even get that far.
100%. Kenny Reed wrote that book, guys that played one game in the NHL, and the journey that it takes and to get there and to do that. And I just hats off to everybody that has the opportunity to play one game. If you could just do that one rookie lap in the NHL, like I don't want to say that would complete me, but I think it would. I really do. Just get that in and wow, what an accomplishment.
I'm going to cry.
I know. There you go.
except for Matt Stajan. I'm still out. Still 100% out. Nope. Just straight no-go, Sherry. No. Not even a little bit. No. If I had known, I would have cross-checked the guy. Like, that's it. We're done. I'm taking care of this business right now.
I love
it. See,
it.
Brad, you missed out.
And you never know who's going to collect. I don't think anyone on the podcast would know. And Winston Hart, who's a lifelong friend since I was a kid, and he sets up at the shows. He's from down the valley. He has the world's largest Scotty Upshaw hockey card collection.
Okay, sure.
And he watched them in World Juniors here, and he got on. I forget the exact story. Maybe one day we could have Winston even on if he would and talk about it. But he's got like of his ultimate rookies out of $4.99. The autographs. He might have 200. He's got I think 30 different game worn jerseys of Scotty Upshaw. It's off the charts. So it's crazy. You never know who collects what. So.
Sounds good. So we'll start winding her down. Thanks everybody in the chat for hanging out. Again, you're more than welcome. Don't be shy. It's one of those things where it makes it more interactive. We can talk. We can come on here and just talk amongst ourselves. We have no problem doing that. But it is a little bit more fun when it is a little more interactive and you join in on the conversation. One thing though, based on what Brad was saying, that maybe we can kick around a little bit. I think it would be kind of fun to, in the vein of what he was discussing, is to bring on some of those collectors. Especially, I'm a player collector, so obviously I have an affinity for that. But some of the player collectors have interesting stories of how they wound up with some of those things. Again, some of them will collect game use stuff. Some of them will collect, the McFarlane figures, the starting lineups. There's all kinds of weird stuff that can come along on the player collecting journey, and it is kind of fun seeing the different versions, the different ways that some of these people get it. And also, why are you collecting this person?
Yeah.
Why that?
Yeah.
And that's a story in itself. Yeah, and that's a possibility. That's because there's enough player collectors out there that we can get different people and they can have different stories. That may be something we can have a little fun with on this one.
Or the things they collect too. Like sometimes people tell me what they collect, and I'm just like, good grief, what are you doing? But they're so.
I love Steve's judgment. He goes, "Good grief, what are you doing?"
Yeah, they're so passionate about it. Yeah. Like so sometimes you got to be a little careful what you say. Like, good grief, what are you doing? Like, I try not to say that, but like it's interesting. Some things that, people collect and the passion they have for them, just as passionate as the person that has the high end collection. Someone might just have a collection that makes no sense at all, but they're passionate about it. So if it makes them happy, just like Kaka Wow or whatever the heck Sherry's opening, more power to them.
Exactly.
That's a good statement. It is true. I agree with that. It's whatever someone likes. Some of the most amusing things and enjoyments I get out of this hobby, it's nothing to do with the value. You know, I think sometimes we all get caught up way too much in that. Like watching Eric and his Reggie Lemelin collection is massively enjoyable. There's lots
on so many levels.
On so many levels.
I love nothing more than to discuss it at length.
And all I can think about now is how many packages, Carlos, you are going to receive over the course of the next few months with random Matt Stajan cards.
Oh yeah.
I think this is going to be.
Look, I understood. Look, I needed to. The story needed to be told, but I understood that I took a risk. I took a massive risk. You know, even invoking and bringing it up. I will actually share one story before we finish up. See, now we got a couple of comments in there. Harry says, "I like Boston Bruins cards." I bet you do. What I was going to say, though, one thing is like, I think Steve will change his tune when we find the Steve Potty Super Collector. As soon as he comes in, it's like, and Steve is like a kindred spirit. You understand. You get it.
Hopefully Matt Stajan can sleep tonight, knowing you have issues with him, Carlos.
Oh, listen, I think his career ended early because my disdain, I think, translated to he could have been a star. It's like something is weighing me down. Like I basically ruined any dream he ever had of being a real star. Ended it. Just ended it. I've been just beating him down for years. I remember seeing Brad Harlan playing in Beauport against the Halifax Moosehead. That's a memory. There you go.
I like it.
But I'll give you one real quick. It wasn't a collection, but it was something that played into the whole idea of like the more obscure player. There was one where years ago I bought a card for myself and a buddy of mine because we used to go down to some AHL games because it was fun. You know, he's a big fan of the Hamilton team when they had the AHL team. Because I think it was the Bulldogs, and then they had to go. They basically moved, and then there was the OHL Bulldogs. But the AHL Bulldogs were playing there, and one time we went to one of the games, and it was the Flames affiliate. I forget exactly what city it came. I think it was Abbotsford. It might have been Abbotsford. That was the one. So one player basically had 2 goals, including a shootout goal at the end of the game. And it was basically a journeyman player who really wasn't very good, but it was Chris Chucko. For that one game, Chris Chucko dominated. And it was just hilarious. We were just dying of laughter. It was Chris Chucko. It was Chris Chucko all over the ice for the one game that we were there for. So it turned out he was a rookie the same year as Jamie Benn. So I got a couple of copies of the Cup RPA for Chris Chucko, which, you know, clearly doesn't require a princely sum. But that's like the only time in history that someone intentionally bought a Chris Chucko RPA. And I got a couple of them. So I gave my buddy one of them. But it's because we went to that game. And the one game, that might have been the best game of Chris Chucko's career. That one time. And that's what we got the thing for. I think he played a little bit in the NHL, but it didn't go too far. But he still had the Cup RPA, so at least he got a card, you know, for the NHL.
Love it.
Robin says, I used to collect that Dan Bouchard card as a kid. There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
I
There's a lot
Dan.
of them, man. Nothing wrong with that. That's why I say I gave the Chris Chucko story. It's kind of a fun, but there's a lot of those. Like there's people who unironically collect a lot of these players that you would be like, wait, really? I kind of remember them. Aren't they an SP Signature legend? Maybe. Maybe they are. Maybe they are.
Yeah.
All right. Sounds good. All right. Last words. Anybody got a last word? And we'll wind her down.
Mike Liut was my favorite when I was younger because I read an article once that where he was the goalie. He said he didn't like to practice. So from that time on, he was my favorite. I always felt the same way too. Like I hated when guys like warm-up drills and stuff when guys just come down the wing and just hammer one at you. Like I spent half the practice trying to protect myself. The only time I was really engaged in practice was when it was game situation drills, like whether it's a 2-on-1, 3-on-2, or power play. But just to have some nut come down and fire pucks at my head, which some of them did, I hated it. So yeah, that's why I liked Mike Liut, and I remember collecting his rookie cards. And also another interesting stat about Liut, he had the most wins of any goalie in the 1980s, which was everyone thinks like Fuhrer or Moog or one of those guys, but no, it was good old Mike Liut.
Wow.
You all learned something.
All I'm thinking about right now is I'm imagining a young Steve Potty long before Allen Iverson. Allen Iverson stole his gimmick. He's like, we're talking about
Practice.
practice. It's like, not the
Exactly.
game. We're talking about practice.
Yeah.
It's like just
100%.
muttering to himself as he skates down the ice. Brad, I'm envisioning it right now. We're talking
Oh, yeah.
about practice. Oh, come on. It's not the game. And then Allen Iverson is like, I got inspiration. Same way that I ruined Matt Stagen's career with vibes. Steve sent the vibes to Alvin Iverson and inspired one of the great sports rants of our time.
Absolutely.
Wow. The lore grows. Anyway,
Great.
so now on that bombshell, we're going to call this an episode. Like, we've learned a lot tonight. We really have. So thank you, everybody, for hanging out. We got a chance to go into a lot of stuff. We got a Caca Wow opening. We got a chance to learn a lot about Steve Potty. We found out he invented the practice rant. This is fantastic. We found out about my arch nemesis from the past. So we got that going for us. And we'll hang out with you next week and we'll talk about it. So next week we'll do a little bit more about Expo. So I'm going to give everybody here homework, including the people on the screen, because this will be our topic. Obviously, Brad will be en route, but we're going to talk Expo memories next week. So in addition to maybe tips and whatever, let's do some Expo memories, because that'll be perfect on theme for the show that'll be only days later. So podcast episode will drop tomorrow. You guys can check that out, and that's where we'll talk about SP Authentic and Allen Ginter. Check out the checklist for Allen and Ginter, though. There's some fun stuff in there. I don't care if you even don't like baseball necessarily that much. There's some fun stuff outside of the baseball realm that may be of interest to you, and we talk a little bit about that. And you can check out the checklist for more information. All right, so that's it for us on this one. Steve, Collector Scalps, Collector People, Sherry and Brad here. We will catch you in the next one.